In the 1930s, America's skies were not calm. Two airlines were quietly building their empires, American Airlines in Texas and United Airlines in Chicago. At first, they fought for small government mail contracts, but each win meant more planes, more routes, and more control of the skies. People thought it was just business. It wasn't. Behind every route change, behind every new aircraft, there were secret deals, political pressure, and strategies to crush the other side. American Airlines was bold, sending its executives to Washington, pushing for routes that would steal customers from United's strongholds. United hit back by locking in exclusive partnerships with aircraft makers in Seattle and California. In boardrooms, men in sharp suits plotted like generals. In hangars, mechanics worked around the clock, upgrading engines for faster, longer flights. Passengers had no idea they were part of a war. Every ticket they bought, every city they flew to, shifted the balance of power. And with every victory, the stakes grew higher. It was no longer about money, it was about dominance. By the end of the decade, American controlled the east to west routes, while United ruled the north. Both knew one thing: the next decade would decide who ruled the skies over America. And neither planned to lose. The 1950s brought a new battlefield, speed, and luxury. America was booming, and the skies were filling with jets. United Airlines struck first. This was not just about planes. This was about stealing the public's imagination. United rolled out glossy magazine ads showing smiling families and champagne service at 30,000 feet. American answered with bold campaigns, promising the fastest coast-to-coast travel in history. The competition got dirty. Routes were duplicated, fares slashed, and schedules timed so one airline would take off minutes before the other, just to arrive first. Pilots felt the pressure. Every flight was a race, every delay a defeat. Mechanics whispered about rushed repairs and overnight modifications to squeeze more speed from the engines. In Washington, lawmakers watched closely. There were rumors of lobbyists pushing for new regulations to favor one airline or cripple the other. But nothing slowed the fight. Every airport from Dallas to Los Angeles felt the rivalry. Gate agents eyed each other like soldiers on opposing fronts. Even passengers noticed. "It's like they're trying to outdo each other on every flight," one businessman said. The skies had become a chessboard, and every move was a test, not just of skill and technology, but of who is willing to push further, risk more, and claim the title of America's #1 airline. By the late 1970s, the rules changed. The U.S. government deregulated the airline industry, and suddenly the battlefield exploded. No more strict price controls. No more guaranteed routes. Now it was open season, and the airlines went for each other's throats. United Airlines moved first, slashing ticket prices to levels nobody had seen before. Overnight, coast-to-coast flights dropped to under $100. Crowds rushed to book seats, and United's planes filled fast, but American Airlines was ready. Their CEO announced an even bigger shock: a super saver fare that undercut United by nearly 20%. The message was clear: if United wanted to fight on price, American would fight harder. The low fares attracted passengers, but they drained profits. Every cheap ticket sold was money lost, but neither airline cared. This wasn't about making money, it was about driving the other into the ground. Behind the scenes, strategies turned ruthless. Popular routes were flooded with flights just to block out the competition. Crews were swapped last minute to keep planes in the air. Overtime hours stacked up, and exhaustion began to creep in. But the rivalry didn't slow. Smaller airlines, caught in the middle, started collapsing under the pressure. And every time one fell, United or American swooped in to claim its routes. The industry was bleeding, but the two giants were locked in a death grip, and no one knew who would break first. By the early 1980s, it wasn't just a business fight. It was personal. Executives spoke of the other airline like an enemy nation. In the skies above America, the war had reached a new level, and the next strike could change the industry forever. Whispers began in the corridors of both headquarters. Flight schedules were being predicted too accurately. Promotional offers were being matched within hours. New route announcements were leaked before they went public. Someone, somewhere, was feeding information to the enemy. In 1983, American Airlines noticed something strange. A confidential plan to launch a new Dallas to Denver Express service appeared in United's marketing materials weeks before American's on press release. The only explanation, a leak. Executives tightened their circles. Meetings were moved to secret locations. Phone lines were checked for wiretaps. Employees were quietly monitored. United, too, began to suspect infiltration after a planned fare drop was matched by American the day before it was to be revealed. Rumors spread among pilots and ground crews of ghost passengers, company operatives booking flights on the rival airline, sitting in first class and quietly taking notes on service, timing, and even crew conversations. Airport lounges became silent battlegrounds, filled with suspicious glances and hushed whispers. In one famous incident, a United pilot claimed he recognized a man boarding his flight to Seattle, a marketing director from American Airlines traveling under a false name. The man smiled, tipped his hat, and said, "Just here to see how you're doing things." Neither side could prove anything, but trust inside both companies eroded fast. Every meeting felt like it had ears. Every memo was written as if an enemy would read it. The rivalry was no longer just fought in the air or in the press. It had moved into the shadows, where secrets were as valuable as airplanes, and one leak could win or lose the war. By the mid-1980s, both airlines were bleeding money from constant battles. The fare war had burned profits, the spy games had deepened mistrust, and the public was starting to view them as evenly matched. That is when American Airlines made its boldest move yet, one that would shake the entire industry. In 1981, quietly, they had introduced something no major airline had ever done on this scale, the Advantage Frequent Flyer program. It was simple on the surface: fly with American, earn points, and trade them for free flights. But the genius was in the psychology. Once passengers started earning miles, they didn't want to waste them by flying with anyone else. Loyalty became a weapon. United Airlines saw the danger too late. Their own mileage program launched months afterward, but American had already locked in tens of thousands of loyal travelers. Businessmen in New York, tech leaders in California, even vacation families in Florida were now married to American by invisible chains of points. The results were immediate. American's bookings surged. Routes that had been evenly split now leaned heavily in their favor. United scrambled, pouring money into promotions and special offers, but it was like trying to catch up to a race that had started hours earlier. Behind closed doors, United executives were furious. "They found a way to keep our customers without even lowering fares," one was overheard saying. American's CEO simply called it a smart way to reward loyalty, but everyone knew it was a masterstroke in the war for America's skies. For the first time in decades, one airline had a real advantage, but the war wasn't over. United was planning something big, something that could flip the game back in their favor. By the late 1980s, the rivalry was a storm that refused to clear. American Airlines had its loyal army of frequent flyers. United Airlines had money, size, and a determination to strike back. The final push began with a single announcement. United was buying Pan Am's Pacific routes. This was more than a business deal. It gave United control of the most lucrative trans-Pacific flights in the world: Los Angeles to Tokyo, San Francisco to Hong Kong, and beyond. Suddenly, United wasn't just battling for America's skies. They were reaching across oceans. It was a direct challenge to Americans' dominance. American countered by doubling down on its own expansion, securing prime gates at New York's JFK and Miami International to dominate East Coast and Latin American travel. New aircraft orders were rushed. Crews were trained for long-haul luxury service. Every flight was turned into a statement. We are still number one. Advertising wars erupted. United's Fly the Friendly Skies went global, splashed across airports from Honolulu to Sydney. American answered with something special in the air, reminding passengers of its speed, comfort, and loyalty rewards. The competition was so intense that airports became like battle zones. United and American planes often sat parked side by side at gates, their logos glaring at each other like opposing flags. By the early 1990s, the industry was watching with nervous fascination. Smaller carriers kept collapsing. Ticket prices stayed low. Passengers were winning, but the airlines were burning billions. Everyone knew the war could not go on forever. Something or someone was going to break. And when it did, the skies over America would never be the same. The 1990s arrived, and the war had reached its peak. Both airlines were exhausted, their profits drained, their executives wary of every move. The battles over routes, fares, and loyalty programs had taken a toll, but neither wanted to surrender. Then came the final decisive moment. American Airlines, after years of careful planning, announced a massive upgrade of its fleet with the newest, fastest, most comfortable aircraft. United responded by modernizing its long-haul service and adding luxury amenities that rivaled Americans. The skies were full of sleek jets, each a symbol of pride and power. Passengers had no idea how much strategy went into every schedule, every seat, every route. They only saw choice, comfort, and competition. But behind the scenes, executives counted every lost mile, every missed passenger, every threat from the other side. Eventually, the battle began to stabilize. Frequent flyer programs had built loyalty, advertising campaigns had set reputations, and both airlines realized the cost of open warfare was too high. The industry had changed forever. Smaller carriers had disappeared, routes had consolidated, and passengers had become kings in a new era of choice. The rivalry didn't end, it evolved. Both airlines continued to compete fiercely, but the stakes were no longer life and death battles. Instead, it was strategy, innovation, and customer loyalty. For decades, the great airline rivalry shaped America's skies. It taught the world that competition could push companies to incredible heights, faster planes, better service, and bigger dreams. And even today, when a passenger boards an American or a United flight, they are flying above the echoes of a war that once raged over every city, every coast, every mile of the nation's sky. The battles above America had left a legacy, one of ambition, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of supremacy in the clouds.